7 o'clock, we'll call the November 4th, 2024 Board of Education meeting to order, please.
Chris Brown?
Here.
Amy Grantham?
Here.
Nancy Hopper? Present. Katie Jess?
Here.
John Crowdy?
Here.
Cindy Smith?
Here.
Sarah Whitney?
We'll now have the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have the approval of previous minutes, please.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Chris Brown?
Aye.
Amy Grantham?
Aye.
Nancy Hopper?
Aye.
Katie Jess?
Aye.
John Crowdy?
Aye.
Cindy Smith?
Aye.
Sarah Whitney?
Next, we have the approval for the agenda for this evening.
Move to approve.
Second. Roll call, please.
Chris Brown?
Aye.
Amy Grantham?
Aye.
Nancy Hopper?
Aye.
Katie Jess?
Aye.
John Crowdy?
Aye.
Cindy Smith? Sarah Whitney?
This evening, we are very honored to have a special presentation. We have Mr. Javier Molina here, and he is going to play the cello for us for a special presentation. We're very honored. Thank you.
Well, before you get going there, I just wanted to say that we have a lot of really great students here at Fort Morgan, and it really makes me proud to be able to bring one of our great students from the high school over here. Just won an award. What award was that?
Which one? Oh, it was for. I'm sorry.
All of them.
He performed at the CAG team conference, the Gifted and Talented conference. He opened the conference.
So really glad to have you here tonight.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. But before I play my main piece, I'm of course gonna play Mr. Sanders' Happy Birthday because
There you go.
he invited me here.
Because he's only 27.
Yeah, exactly. Happy birthday, Mr. Sanders.
Fantastic. So much appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you so
Awesome.
much for
Yes.
having me.
Yes, sir.
It's a prelude from the Cello Suite 2 by Johann Sebastian. Yeah. Thank you guys.
Javi, who are your parents, please?
My mom is Angie Molina and my father is Ramon Molina.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent telling, that was wonderful. Next, we have 2B, Morgan Community College. College Now, a pathway presentation from Mr. Bowman. I'm looking and I don't see a musical instrument.
Well, that is what I have a master's degree in, is in conducting, but no longer doing that, obviously. So that kid is talented. So that's an excellent high school cellist. That is amazing. Well, first of all, thank you for letting me be here tonight. About a year ago, Jacob Norris called me and said, "Hey, Joe, is there a way a kid could go through and get their associate's degree before they graduated?" And I said, "Well, I think there is, and so we kind of talked it over a little bit, and that's kind of where this process started. Number one, I wanted to tell you, your counseling staff at the high school is a good counseling staff, and they have a lot going on, and so I appreciate working with them during this time of year as we go into enrollment season. The counselors are like on speed dial with me. I probably get multiple messages every day from counselors, and so the Fort Morgan crew is awesome. So they've called this pathway. I passed out a sheet here for you. Does everybody have one that needs one? You bet. Pardon? Yeah, no worries. So Fort Morgan High School is calling this the College Now pathway. And essentially what it is a way for a ninth grade student to begin a journey of earning an associate's degree while still in high school. A couple of the things here that you'll see in front of you, the page that's on the front here that's green, two different colors of green, basically lays out the course structure for this pathway. It's going to start with the first semester being an orientation to MCC. So teaching the students, there's a whole bunch of stuff in the orientation. And then this goes down the list of the classes that are prescribed. There's obviously multiple ways to get an associate's degree. You don't have to take these classes in this order. But what we've done is we've put this together in an order that we believe that high school students starting at ninth grade could actually achieve and pass with good grades, meaning A's or B's. So when I'm talking to and advising students, I'm always talking to them, C's don't count. So everything is A and B. And for the most part, most of the Fort Morgan students do that. So the next few pages on there is just mostly for the counseling team. They can see the classes and what blocks the classes are coming from. They're color coded just to designate what year, and the key is on the back. And so, but mainly I want to focus on the front of this page, or the front of it. This is a complete Associate of Arts degree. The reason I chose Associate of Arts is the Associate of Science weeds out some of the humanities and gets really heavy in the math and sciences, which starting at the freshman year won't work as easily for them unless they're gifted in math and science. So the associate's degree would not be a problem to transfer. That'll be accepted everywhere. Every class on this list, except for the Intro to PC Applications, is a guaranteed transfer. A guaranteed transfer class that's taught by any of the 13 community colleges goes to any of the 4 Colorado colleges, and it's guaranteed transfer. We're using the same syllabus as they are. For example, that Music 1020, that's being taught on every Colorado campus this year. And so that's a guaranteed transfer. The intro to PC applications, it's on the CTE side, so it doesn't. CTE is career and technical education, so it does not transfer. Or it's not, I should say, let me take that back. It's not a guaranteed transfer class. Most of the colleges will accept it as an introductory computer class. So going on, the orientation, some things that we want to cover in the orientation will be the day one will begin applying to MCC. So there's no requirement prior to showing up the first day of school in 9th grade. We talked about that with the board, or with Rob and the counselors, and we didn't want to put any barriers in the way. So like we were thinking about having the orientation in the summertime and stuff like that. But we feel like if we start day one, they have a whole semester to apply, and we want to go through doing the Accuplacer testing. Accuplacer testing is the testing we do to see if a student is college ready in reading and in math. They don't have to be college ready in both of them, but they will need to be college ready in the reading part. And then later on, when you see math there in their junior year, is they'll have to be college ready in math at that point. We want to orientate them to our D2L. The D2L platform is our teaching platform, so they know how to turn in assignments. So when they actually get into a class, it's not like freaking them out, seeing where do I find this stuff and anything, because every school uses a little bit different. We're going to orientate them to the library, talk about artificial intelligence and plagiarism. Those are key issues that we deal with at the college all the time. Have a section on time management and study skills, a section on STEM, career counseling, and possibly doing some type of career inventory during this time, visiting about what a syllabus is. So many of our students that we already have now don't even understand what the syllabus is. It's the playbook, the game, the rules of the game for taking that. We do have a tutoring center. And the differences between high school and college, they really won't know the differences between college since they're just entering, but there are some things that their parents will need to know. We've talked a little bit about mandatory parent meetings. This program will take parental support. A 9th grade student maybe academically can handle that, but they're going to need the support from the parents to help them along and make sure that they are progressing through this. And for the parents also to understand college versus high school. One of our big problems we have just in concurrent enrollment in general is a high school student will show up and they'll have something going on at the high school, and it'll be an excuse thing, pep rally, just whatever it may be, and they'll miss their college class. Well, that wasn't excused at the college, that's a high school class. And just getting some of those things to making them very clear to both the parents and the students, so that way they're getting some support with that. We are targeting this to start in the 8th grade. We've talked quite a bit with the counseling staff how this would look. We're looking for obviously the gifted and talented group of students, the underachieving students, and then in our last meeting that we met together, the dual enrollment or the dual immersion students coming from Columbine. I believe next year will be their first year in high school. So the counseling staff thought that would be a great thing for them to be in. We've talked about going on through their senior year, that we would begin the process of transferring them to a 4-year college. We have an entire advising staff that would come into play at that point that advise our traditional students already, starting to work with what colleges they want to pick, and academically, and then helping them transfer. Now the key is, one of the things to understand is when a student gets their associate's degree while still in high school, they enter the college, a 4-year college, academically as a junior. But socially, they'll be a freshman, which is a good thing, depending on how you look at it. But they'll probably be required to live in the dorms. They'll have the true freshman experience. So a lot of people think, well, now you've got an 18-year-old student that they just dump them off on a college campus and they're being a junior. Well, they'll have to go through. I've talked to some of the colleges that UNC and so forth, and they say no, socially they're a freshman. So they have to do freshman orientation. They have to do everything that a freshman on their campus is required to do. The other benefit to that is a freshman, there's a lot more scholarship money for freshmen than there are for juniors. And so a student leaving Fort Morgan High School with an associate's degree can take all those scholarships that we see handed out at those awards things at the end of the year and pay for their junior year as opposed to paying for their freshman and sophomore years. And so that's a huge benefit for the students. Then our advising people would help them prepare for financial aid, helping them get the FAFSA. I know that the high school, we partner with the high school also filling out the FAFSA and financial aid. Another question that had come up earlier was COF. For those of you who don't know, the COF is our College Opportunity Fund. And right now it's paying $116 per credit hour of all the concurrent enrollment credits your students are taking. So the way our billing structure works is we give 100% reimbursement for our academic classes, but we're minusing the COF off of that. So we actually are collecting COF on each of those students. So for every credit hour, we're collecting $116 for those credit hours. And somebody had asked what happens if a student runs out of COF in their college career by starting as a freshman, going all the way through. The deal is the College Opportunity Fund does not count concurrent enrollment hours against their 145 hours. So technically, what would happen is if the students go through this from 9th through 12th grade, they get their associate's degree, they hit the campus as a junior, they have 145 credit hours of COF left over. And so that's what that is. So if you want to look at the front of this, we're going to start off with a music appreciation and intro to PC applications. For those of you who have been in meetings prior with me, we changed this up. I talked to a couple of my colleagues that have been doing concurrent enrollment a little bit longer than I have. And music appreciation is very attainable. You read a book, you listen to lectures, and you take tests. And so that's a student should be able to do that. It'll be college level, obviously. And the same thing with PC applications. That's basically what that is they're going to be learning Microsoft Office products. And so learning how to navigate and use those. And so we feel that those are two classes that a ninth grader should be able to handle. Again, college level. We don't change the syllabus. The syllabus is the same syllabus that an 18-year-old on a college campus or a 19-year-old on a college campus is doing. But they should be able to attain that. And then the third semester and the fourth semester is their sophomore year. Have interpersonal communications, general psychology, and then general psychology and ethics. Those are very attainable. We have Christian Leseg is our psychology professor. He's very popular. Not very many students that fail his class at all. Most of them get A's or B's, and that's kind of what we're shooting for. Then as you enter the junior year, where most other students are entering concurrent enrollment, it opens up to U.S. history, statistics, and college biology and those kind of things that are a little more hefty as far as academically challenging. The college biology could be substituted for an easier biology, but I put the college biology in there. There's biology 1004, which is human biology. And so as a music major in college back in the day, I would have taken human biology because after all, that's the easiest one, and I didn't really care about science because I was in music. Yeah, and so, but the college biology is the biology that science majors will take. And the other thing that does is this dovetails into the nursing and all of the medical programs that we have at MCC. That biology 1111 is it's a prerequisite for human anatomy and physiology. And so, for example, our nursing program, our RadTech program, and our physical therapy program require human anatomy and physiology. But they can't do that until they've taken biology 1111, or there's another one called 1010. But anyway, that opens the door for those students. And so, theoretically, what could happen is if a student started off when they were in ninth grade and they take this biology 1111 and 1112 their junior year, then their senior year they could take all the prerequisites to the nursing program and then apply to the nursing program their freshman year of college, we have a sophomore scholarship, which pays for the first year of that nursing program. And then they'd only have to pay 1 year. And so this has multiple facets on the end of it for where they want to go. And Biology 1111 is a key to that. Then English composition, that at Fort Morgan High School, English composition is senior English. We don't let students that are juniors take that typically. So that's their senior English, and they have all those electives. And so if they want to go into, this is obviously an Associate of Arts degree, but if they wanted to go into something more in the science and math area, they just load up on the harder science and math. They can take their physics and chemistry and their, calculus and all those kind of things on the math side if they wanted to do that. So that's essentially the program. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I have a couple.
Good. Thank you.
So with this, is MCC going to be assigning somebody to monitor these students to help counsel them and get them,
Absolutely.
ensuring that they're in alignment and enrolling in all the classes that they need to be?
Correct. And one of the things, thank you, John. One of the things that I didn't mention is the first 2 years are on Fort Morgan High School campus. So the freshman and sophomore year is going to be at Fort Morgan High School. They will be in a cohort. We've talked about that. This will be blocked out. John ran the CTE program, and we do cohorts with those. So this is a cohort, the same idea. So they start, whoever's in that music appreciation class will also be in that intro PC applications class. And then the following year, it'll roll through that. So it'll be very easy to monitor them and help them through that. We do an eligibility report every week, and the counselors, the high school counselors already have that. So there's some support systems in place for that already. And then also on that, your high school already has U.S. history and intro to statistics and already taught on your campus. So really a student can make it pretty much through a bunch of their junior year, not having to leave the high school campus. So yeah, we're going to have supports, and we'll be able to monitor that.
Okay. Second question is, how many of these classes are in person versus online?
100% in person. The first 2 years.
And after that, it's
After that, then
because I mean, and you
Yeah.
might have these many conversations. That's why I bring it up. Is
Yeah.
The online is severely lacking.
exactly.
Students need to be fully informed about the online curriculum and the support they're going to get in achieving.
Yeah, and that is true. So like looking at this list, everything that is named, typed out, and not called an elective is in person.
Okay. Last question.
Yeah.
I promise.
No
So,
worries. Keep
well,
going.
until something else comes. When do we have the data on current students on the pass-fail rates, and are they getting advice on those failures for a college class stay as part of their permanent record for
Mhm.
college or for any transfers and stuff? Do we have any data on the pass-fail rates
I don't have any.
currently?
I don't have any current data on pass-fail rates as far as how many credits are taken by Fort Morgan High School students or our whole entire program, but the failure rate is fairly low. I don't want to say a number because it's not something I've tracked, but I can definitely we can look at that, figure that out. John does bring up a good point. Your high school transcript is very important, and the things a student does in high school are extremely important, but it goes away as soon as you start taking college classes. Your 4.0 high school GPA, once you're got an associate's degree, doesn't mean much if you have a 2.0 college GPA. That's what they're going to be looking at. And so that's one of the reasons why we brought the classes in this order, because we do think it's very attainable for a ninth grader that is going to work hard. It's not, now this program is not for everybody. It's not, every ninth grader is going to be on this pathway. But if they'll work hard, then they should be able to get A's and B's. And a 3.0 college GPA is a pretty good GPA overall. And some of the students, a lot of the students that I get to advise at the college from Fort Morgan High School have a 3.0 or better. So that would be there. Also talking to the parents about the importance of the high school or the college transcript and how that works.
So, with that being said, so right now, we're looking at creating this pathway. Is there anything from students doing this pathway now, even though it's not created?
We don't have any ninth graders. This is the first year I have some ninth graders. I typically don't do a lot of the high school advising. They come through the counseling office with Mr. Norris and Mr. Einsflar. They're the ones doing the ninth grader. I know a couple of students. I can't talk about them, but they are performing well. The couple that I know are ninth graders are doing really well. And they're on our campus. John did make a good point. Our online classes are not supported as well, and just think about COVID, how online classes are harder for them to do. And so that's why it's important for these to be in person. MCC has made the commitment to have our faculty on your campus for the first 2 years. So that is a pretty big commitment for us as far as it's taking a faculty out of our building for that period every day. I've talked to our president, Dr. Freed, and one of the questions that kind of scared me on our last meeting is one of the counselors asked, what happens if we have 70 kids or 70 students that want to do this? And I thought I was ready for every question, and I was like, I don't know. First of all, we're going to probably try to cap this at a cohort of 25 to 30. Just, I don't know what it's going to look like, but I mentioned that to our president. He goes, well, why would you cap it? Why don't we just support it with more faculty? So the seriousness of this happening and making it move forward is in the president's office at MCC. So I don't know what that'll look like, because finding another music teacher might be a little more tricky than that. But
Well, so you talk about those resources and it goes back to my first question. Is MCC going to provide, because I know you've got a full plate. Is MCC going to provide a dedicated staff person to work with these students that have identified? If you have a cohort of 25, that's more than our school counselors, that's more than you are going to be able to handle. That's going to be, it has to be a dedicated person from my viewpoint. Is MCC going to dedicate a person to do that?
We will have to talk about that. There are a couple things in the works that I can't divulge today. I mean, but we're looking at more counseling or more advisors on our end. There's been talks of having a concurrent enrollment advisor. So I can't commit to that today. I can say that that's something we're thinking about.
Okay. I mean, I just think those are things that we need to flesh out.
Yeah.
Creating a pathway that we're saying, yeah, we're going to do this, but then we don't really have, it's putting the cart before the horse.
And we also have a tutoring center too, that's open. And I don't know what the resources there are that we could tap into with that. MCC does have a tutoring center. We have live people in there. If a subject is not something that we have a tutor for on our campus, there is a online or website thing that we use that we've ascribed to, or that we're paying for, and then it's a live face-to-face virtual meeting with what am I looking for? A math teacher for math problems and English teacher for English and stuff. So I'm not super concerned about that, John, but I definitely will check into it.
And that's just something on our end too, John, that we're already kind of got the wheels going with how we can support on our end with the counselors we have and what that looks like and that kind of stuff too. So that's something on our end that's on our radar too, to be able to support this thing from our side too. So I just thought
So from your end, how many students do you anticipate wanting to do this?
No idea.
So we have a really total students
No, we want to make sure we have all this, our ducks in a row. That's why we're trying to meet now and have all that and get everybody together. So in the spring, all parties can roll this out and we can, have it put together.
Thank you, because that answers our question I had, is when is this gonna be rolled out? Because I think we're gonna be looking at taking action on this with a time frame. But when would we look at it then being rolled out to students? Would that be
This
next year?
spring.
This spring?
The spring eighth graders is our idea, right? So like that's why we rolled in all of our middle school admin and our middle school counselors through the conversation with Rob, myself and Joe and the entire team to make sure that we're like really thinking about all aspects from the middle school counseling aspect, the middle school admin aspect, the parent aspect. And so knowing that we have those parent nights coming in the spring and wanting parent commitment and parent involvement from the very beginning and making sure that we actually have a really solid plan before we put it in front of parents.
So if I may, with a follow-up then. So our current ninth graders, is there an opportunity for them to expedite somehow to get into this track? Or is it just, this is gonna be a track for our incoming kiddos? We're just trying to clarify what the opportunity is.
So this that we can support on your campus has to only start with ninth graders right now. There is, I've given the counselors another sheet. It's the blue sheet like this. And essentially what we do is we just take these first two classes and push them down into the sophomore year. The deal is, though, the key is this is supported on your campus. So when you're a sophomore, if you could want to take these classes, and there's room in these classes on the Fort Morgan High School campus, they're allowed to take those, right? Because they're all taking the same class. But this program, we've got our people on your campus to do that so that they don't have to travel or anything. Now the sophomore can start, and as a matter of fact, I handed this to a girl today. A student came by today. I handed her the blue sheet. She'd already taken the first 3 classes. So off of that sheet, and she just needed the next 3 to do. So.
Well, I appreciate that, because I understood the 8th graders, but I was wondering about our current 9th graders. Not that I have one that would probably be interested, but just as a curiosity, if someone did want to, if they met the criteria, would they have that opportunity? And
Absolutely.
what I hear you saying is absolutely, and I want to thank you for that forethought of not only the 8th graders coming in, but the current 9th graders that we might have, and working together, and then also working diligently with our high school staff to kind of determine which kids might be applicable to this process, but making sure that we extend that to sometimes we overlook kids that we think might not be, but how do we track and try to find kids that may be applicable that aren't our typical kids?
So the key there will be your middle school counselors. Honestly, when a student walks into my office, I don't know their academic achievement. I ask them what kind of grades do you get and those kind of things. But your counselors know. I mean, if I mention a student to the high school staff, I've not worked with the middle school staff obviously at this point, but I can go over to the high school staff and I say, hey, so and so, and they're a great student. Don't worry about this class or that class. And so your counseling staff will be the ones that will be identifying these students. And we did talk about, it's not just the gifted and talented. It's some of this dual immersion group, and also the underachievers, because they're the ones probably sitting in the principal's office because they're too bored in other classes. So
a couple things that I wanted to mention. We have done we did a pretty good meeting with the middle school staff, and they're really on board and really thinking about kids who might fit this. My personal opinion in this first cohort, if we get up to 15 kids in this first cohort, I'm going to think it's a success, and I just think it's going to grow from there. But 2 other things I want to mention is, if we find a situation where we're needing some transportation during the day, we've already talked that we want to find a way to get those who can't drive back and forth. And so if it's not on campus, if it's actually over at MCC, so we went for a grant this last year. We didn't quite receive it, but I know there's monies out there potentially. But if not, we'll find a way to get them there. And then the other thing that I found really great about this was the fact that when you enroll in your concurrent enrollment courses, that opens up all their tutoring and all the other things that they have at MCC. So if the kid is having a tough time with the class, they actually go out to their tutors out at MCC, and they have that option there as well.
So Rob or Joe, if we have kids in this program, I would assume that that kind of frees up some of the class numbers in the other classes, so that we can better maybe provide more direct services to those that aren't in this program but still might need some additional supports. Am I off base or kind
No,
of?
I think that's a really good observation. If we take some 15 to 20 kids a year out of a class, for example, and they're not going to be there the entire day at MCC, but it's actually going to, in the first couple of years, free up some other spaces in classrooms to maybe do some other things, maybe more creative things at the high school.
And that's happening already on your campus. I have students that are juniors and seniors that are taking anywhere from 5 to 6 classes their junior and senior year. So I have seniors that just stay at the college.
Administrators, can you speak to that a little bit? Are you seeing any change in workload or anything like that with your junior and senior classes, as far as basically spreading it out where you're having juniors and seniors off campus, others being more successful maybe in the regular classes?
I don't know if I would say more successful. I know that it provides opportunity within our master schedule for spaces, right, where we're like, oh gosh, we are at cap level, or classes are just to the brim. We've got space when students are following those pathways that they want to follow. So that's been helpful. I think too, and we talked about this with Mr. Bowman. If there's opportunities for our teachers to receive master, to earn master level credits, to teach classes on campus, we'd love for that opportunity as well. So for maybe a student, their junior, senior year, and I don't maybe the carpal tunnel again here, but maybe there would be more classes. There's a couple already, like our
History and English now.
And English, yeah, are taught on campus, and I think that there could be opportunities for other classes as well to be taught by our teachers.
So currently today, Fort Morgan High School has about 180 concurrent enrollment students. I wish I could tell you exactly how many credit hours, but I don't remember that number. But it's a significant amount of students that are, out of your school population that are taking concurrent enrollment. That's from CTE all through all of them, all the programs. So you guys are a great partner for MCC, and this is a way I think we can expand that partnership. So.
Well, I just want to thank you. I know that's a lot of work for the counselors. I'm assuming the middle school too already, the district office and MCC, and it's great when we can find opportunities for our kids. So thank you.
Yeah, Joe did a ton of work.
Yeah.
When we started meeting, he had his ducks in a row and answered almost all the questions I had.
I can kind of figure that out.
Yeah.
So he appears to be okay.
I honestly thought it was going to take a lot longer because I kept thinking about what are we going to do, how are we going to get these courses in, Joe showed up at my office and said, this is already done. I said, wow, that is fantastic.
So actually we can go off your bill for academic classes right now. There's 591 and 194. What is that? That's let's say 200, 600, 800 credits hours in academic classes. And for the career and technical education, it's 440 credit hours that your students at Fort Morgan High School are already earning right now.
This is since COVID, all of these bills.
Okay. So thank you. I'm glad you thought of that. I was going to have to figure out how to. Any other questions? Cool.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving right along, 3A, public comments. Hearing one. Nope. Okay. Well, then we will move into our reports, and we have our Fort Morgan High School student representative. Please go ahead.
Okay, so good evening. So recently we had a band orchestra concert. Last Thursday, our volleyball team celebrated their senior night, and then on October 26th, we had Haunted Hollies. And then recently, our student senate attended the Fight the Funk conference in Sterling, and that was really fun to go to. Basically, just learn about like drug abuse in high school and how to deal with it, and how we could like promote change in our schools. Fall sports are coming to an end, and football has their senior night this Friday, so if you get a chance to come out, go. And then we have 4 gymnasts going to state this year, 2 seniors, a sophomore, and a freshman.
All right, moving on to board reports. I'm just going to kind of give an update. We did have delegate assembly a couple weeks ago down in Pueblo. I wanted to share a couple things with you that I thought was really pretty awesome. So the legislative platform, which is your first tab there, I think. Yeah, that first screen. Yeah. Anyway, I'll go on. The legislative platform. So, you know, we have lobbyists with CASB that work with our legislators for different things to promote positively for education and so forth. And so this document was created. It's the first time I've ever seen anything like this. It's pretty in-depth. And so what you'll see is we have 4 areas that we've really prioritized. And there's a Q code on it. And so we can hand this to our legislators and say, these are the things, for example, we don't want any more mandates given to us as educators without funding. You know, we get a lot of unfunded mandates given to us. And so anyway, if you hit then on the Q code, it goes to more in depth of the information behind this. And so this is really an awesome tool that we've created we had a task force that worked on this. So there's finance, student and staff safety, accountability, and local governance. And the cool thing is then what my goal is, I'll be going to Washington, D.C. in January to meet with our legislators there and would like to take not only this document, but maybe kind of prepare a local document from Fort Morgan about our needs so that when we meet with the legislators in D.C., we can hand that to them as well. So I thought it was a really pretty awesome document. The other thing we had is we had a presentation. I think her last name was Miller, I'm not quite sure, but it's called Parent Guidance at Org. CASB has a link to it directly on its website. You want to pull that one up there? Yes. Yeah. Okay. And then what my understanding is, this is free to school districts to use. It's also free for parents, and it's also free for staff. So you could go to the Q code. They do projects this coming year. They're doing projects, I believe, for superintendents and leadership that'll all be paid for. But they also did like for special education. I think last year you could apply for, and they would fund and create calm rooms which would help our kiddos who are autistic. But the resources in here are quite phenomenal. There's a lot. Some way I would really like for us as a district to look at this, whether it's with you, Rena, or Carpenter. Can't think of this.
I sent it to her and I sent it to counselors.
Okay, perfect. And maybe somehow kind of look at that and get that information out to parents, particularly for parents with their own mental health issues or for their mental health issues of their students. It's a great resource. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about is at CASB, when we have our winter conference down in Colorado Springs, we've got a wide array of students, but we're also going to have a presenter, and his name is Boye. I think he's presenting on Saturday morning, but his story is pretty phenomenal. For if you get it, you know, hopefully we'll all go to that and listen to him. But it's a musical performance somewhat too, but he also goes into his background and his story. I listened to him when I was in Orlando, or no, excuse me, I don't know if it was Orlando or when it was, can't remember where, because I've gone to many places. But anyway, he's very, very good, and, but his name is Boye, and so hopefully we'll all get to hear that. Alex Boye. And that's all I think I have for you. C, Superintendent Report.
Okay, so I've had a few additions since then. I wanted to update you in where we are with our land in lieu, the impact fees. Like I said, we have an attorney that is working with the 4 Morgan County superintendents. And as we learned at our last work session, it's mostly just for the county. But what they were asking for was if we had an original agreement. Nobody could find the original agreement until I came back and I said, Bev, do we have the original agreement? We found the original agreement for Fort Morgan, which was back in 2005, and it had the fees listed as an exhibit. So we had to submit that to the attorney, who is then, that gave us the ability now to potentially go for back fees, meaning that because we didn't collect them from 2005 to present, that we could actually fight to get, or not fight, petition, I guess that's the wrong word, petition to get back fees all the way back to 2005. It wouldn't be the fees we were talking about the other day, but it would be the fees that were in that original agreement, but then we'd have to sign a new agreement with the county in order to get those new fees put on. And so I think that's some good news for us. I don't think that any other district found that agreement, so I've not heard back from the attorney yet to find out if that's exactly what he's looking for, but that's my hope. We do have it, and it's moving forward with that as we speak. The next thing is a good thing we got last, say Thursday or Friday. It's a dismissal of one of our OCR, Office of Civil Rights complaints in our ELD program. A lot of hard work went into that since about 2018, and it was finally dismissed and found that we were cleared of everything. So that's fantastic. We still have the one that we're waiting on, which segues into my very next thing that I have on there. Our Principal Academy is next Wednesday. Is that the 10th, 11th? It's the second Wednesday of the month. The 13th. And we are bringing our special education attorney in from Kaplan and Ernst, and she's going to spend 2 hours with us. We've invited administrators from Wiggins, Weldon Valley, and Brush to come over. They're going to help offset some of the cost of that. But we get 2 hours of conversation about discipline students on IEPs and 504s, which I think is part of that OCR agreement or that complaint that we got. And so that's not going to complete that portion. We still have to do more, but I just feel so strongly about this that this is something that our principals and our administration need right now because of the increase in the number of 504s and IEPs we're seeing. We need to know how to deal with them. So that's really great. Looking forward to that. Just this morning, I had an organization come and meet with me, some architects, and we're looking at potential new entryways down at Pioneer for a potential BEST grant, not necessarily this spring unless you want to go after it, but next spring, because we're just now finishing up, we're about halfway through our BEST grant right now, with all the HVAC stuff that's going on. We could apply, it just comes down to, I need to see what their final estimation on costs are going to be, because we need to have the matching funds. So whatever those matching funds are, whether it's going to be the 49% that we were quoted, or whether something happens and we drop down, we need to have those funds, and we got to decide where we're going to get those funds before we actually go in and apply. But before we apply, we want to find out how much it's going to cost. And so that's why we had these architects come out to look at a couple different options. The first option which we did not particularly care for because it would be a lot more expensive, was to bring and add a new office on that west side of the entryway of Pioneer, and then just make the existing office, yeah, right there, Bev, a little higher, right in there, right where those two blue big things are in the front door. Bring an office out there. That would be a very expensive fix. The other option, which I actually have some drawings, I just got them sent to me, I didn't have time to get loaded up. But they drew up where we can take, if you go in the front door there, on the west side, there are 3 classrooms to the left. You can take 2 of those classrooms, remodel them, 2 to 3 of them, remodel them into a front office, nurse, counseling, conference room, whatever you need there, and then you can take the existing teacher lounge. There's another kitchen back there, plus the existing conference room, principal's office, and front office, and turn those back into those 2 classrooms. Thereby steering everybody in through those classes, which is going to be the cheaper option, and it does meet everything we want it to do. So, of course, we'll have decisions we want to make if that's the direction we want to go. But I feel pretty strongly about the fact that we need a safer entry and exit point at Pioneer, and so that's going to be on the radar in the next big project we're going to try to accomplish. So, again, they're pretty excited about it. I'm kind of excited about it, and I'd like to just see Pioneer get to a point where we feel comfortable with the doors shutting right and people coming in the right way, so we can actually not have to use a key to get into the classroom spaces.
If you do that safe entry on the west side, will that change like the logistical drop off?
No, we actually talked about, so I want the bus, well, this is just me talking right now. And initially you gotta have the ideas. So I'd like to leave the bus drop off where it's at. The drop off, we talked about maybe building a circle on the south side right there on that hill, if you can see it right there. But they said, well, for the cost, it may cost you more to put that in than it does to actually remodel the rooms. And so I would like to, I talked about putting a circle drive up there to where you can actually just go up and drive the circle drop off a little closer to the building, maybe have some handicap parking that's a little closer. But they were afraid that utilities and different things underneath the ground might be cost prohibitive and might cause you more of a problem than that. So they really kind of backed off of that. Now, they wouldn't look at it if we wanted them to, but costs involved with that might be a little more than a lot more, maybe double of what just to build a circle drive. So yeah, we did talk about it, but I don't think it will change much necessarily. We'd keep the parent drop off on that same south side. It seemed a little far from the building, but that's what they have now. So they did try to convince me to maybe move the bus drop off to where the parents drop off, and then have the parents drop off where the buses drop off. And I told them, we had no stoplight, no stop sign. You're gonna have buses backed up in that parking lot for 3 days. Yeah, and turning radius is not good, so I don't think that's a good idea. So anyway, that one, kind of excited about that. And then I kind of briefly before the work session mentioned about the lights at the baseball field. I'll send out some of the consensus from you, whether or not we want to put in the conduit. I'll talk to Tony, see if we have the money to do that. I do feel like it's the time to do it if we're going to do it. But it's time to make that decision, and if we do it, we'll have to do it before the next board meeting, so I would then need consensus and then come back and ask for a retroactive approval at our next meeting. So be looking for that email. So that's my report, unless you have any questions for me.
Question, middle school, bus route, the bus thing. I've seen signage I put there, I think is different or new.
They did put no parking along where we put the new fence in, but I think they're taking that down now. I thought they were talking about taking it down at some point, but nobody follows it. I go out there and everybody's parked right where it says no parking.
Well, and that brings up my point. If we've got signage up and we're not enforcing it, it's a moot point. And so I think there needs to be a little bit more of a discussion about whether that's a safety issue and whether or not we should be having law enforcement enforce it. And that kind of bothers me when there isn't any.
So the other conversation I would like to have is probably with the city, is to see if we can actually bring the road, Education Avenue, and bring it around up to meet Tacoma.
That would be Dual Street, between Tacoma and Education Avenue. So Dual Street currently is at, the trailer park there by the new Southfield.
It would kind of create a horseshoe around the school, providing lots more spaces for people to sit and wait for their kids. Probably take a little bit of pressure off of West Street and Tacoma. It might, split it up a little bit differently. So I don't know. Mr. Frasco worked on that, so he may have a lot more opinions on what we need to do out there than what I have.
Yeah, that was the original plan, was for Dual Street to come through from Tacoma and match up to Education Avenue when the building was first constructed. But at that point in time, the city wasn't in a position to put that in, but they had plans of it. I've heard varying reports on whether that's still the plan moving forward. But it would definitely help with flow of traffic, having a little better tenures. It would definitely help with the flow of traffic and give some additional pickup areas where right now you have kids that are crossing the bus lane in Tacoma without a crosswalk to be picked up. At one point in time, there were no parking on the north side of Tacoma. The sign went up and down multiple times. And so I think there's a lot of confusion. So right now, the only no parking, I believe, is the sidewalk area right where we put that new fence in, and that's the only section that's no parking.
But again, if we have signage and no one's enforcing it, it's a moot point. And so I think we need to have that discussion with the city because I'm a grandma, and sometimes I go over there to pick up kids, and I know it's only like 15 minutes, but it scares the holy bejesus out of me when I see kids going in between those buses and where they're not supposed to be, and it shouldn't be happening, and I don't understand why we're not doing something about it. It just scares me. So that's one comment. The other question I have is, at Columbine, are we still taking our bus kids, kindergartners coming to the building for parent pickup and whatever, and bus pickup to go out? Are they still parking on the north side of Columbine and walking across the grass? So we're talking about a distance for kids to walk, and yet they're not walking on the sidewalks, they're walking on the grass, in the mud, in the snow, to get on a bus. And so I have a question about that.
Yeah, and I did have a conversation last year about this time. And the problem is that now that the student count is up over 400, they just don't have enough spaces. And so part of the solution was to move the buses out from out in front, because the buses were just getting jammed up in that bus line, and then they moved them onto the north side of the playground where they can actually sit and wait for kids, but then they get kind of jammed up trying to turn right out of there anyway. But it's a big problem to have. It's a nice problem because you have over 400 kids in that building, and I don't know what the solution is at the moment. So.
Well, it's just a point of reference that I get concerned with kids. Or we all should, and I know we all do. Thanks, Rob. Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Assessment.
So just a couple items tonight. You have up for action item purchase for art. Our curriculum adoption actually is moving quite rapidly, being it only November, and we're moving quite quickly. And so art adoption was really easy this year. We obviously only have 4 art teachers, but they unanimously really love the current system that they're utilizing called Art of Education. It has some really awesome standards-based art lessons. It also has conferences kind of wrapped up in it, that they can do some professional development with other art teachers across the country for the next 6 years. And so we got a pretty good discount, like $10,000 worth of a discount to purchase early. And so that's why it's up for adoption tonight. And then really quickly, I mentioned last meeting that we got the opportunity from Kaiser Permanente. They reached out to us for a donation for $20,000. They call it a donation because that's the easiest thing, but we did have to write sort of like a mini grant for it. We actually wrote the grant around chronic absenteeism, which is one of our choices. And ironically, one of the things that came up across our district implementation team for MTSS about being an issue. So we're looking at, we wrote in there for expanding opportunities at the high school to offer our own GED prep, which we've done in the past for some software. We have put in with the state to become our own testing center, which is a whole application, which I thought I filled out the application and the lady from CDE now said I have to fill out another application. So that's okay. It's just a little more paperwork, but we're gonna get there. And then working with CDID, I think on some other like incentives and thinking about just how we're actually tackling the issue of chronic absenteeism. So that's great that they just released the money, so we're going to be getting that $20,000 here in the next couple weeks. And then I took a team of 8 other instructional coaches to the Teaching Learning Coaching Conference in New Orleans, which happened last week. That is Jim Knight's work. If you haven't looked at it, he's really amazing. Jen Kroll had some additional grant money, so we were able to pay with grant money to take the coaches. And if you, just a couple people to maybe follow, Dr. Chris Emden, he had the most phenomenal keynote I think I've ever seen. It was titled "Teaching is a Performing Art," and he was awesome. He's written quite a few books, one of them called Ratchetdemic. So ratcheting it up with academics. And then Kate Murphy, if you haven't heard her, she's written a book called You're Not Listening, and it was all about listening skills, but there was a ton of good breakouts and it was pretty awesome. So happy that my coaches got some additional learning there. And then finally, I sent you district demographics maybe a couple weeks ago, and the good news is the data is good as the data is. And Jaylin immediately was like, those are not the right special education numbers. So the one problem that I think we're having, and I've talked to Melinda and Jaylin, is our current new IEP system does not talk back to Infinite Campus. So there's a lot of hand coding going on, which I didn't have the right query for. It's a lot of stuff behind the scenes I could try to explain, but so the numbers that you have for special ed are accurate. There's 2 different like little spreadsheets there. And then one thing I wanted to highlight about just our overall demographics, again, our overall race and ethnicity, homeless, gifted and talented, EL, and meal status and home language really are as good as they are. And one thing that I really want to highlight is I talked a lot with Shelley about is our home languages are not accurate. And they're probably, we have a lot more, like let's just take Tignigrilla. It says we have 1 Tignigrilla speaker, which we know we have a lot more than 1 speaker. But the reason that is we don't code them like that. That actually comes out of an online registration from the families. And a lot of times, our non-English speaking families click off on that they speak English. And so that's just part of the system, and it's part of, I think, a culture of understanding, like, it's really great that you speak another language, we want to know that. And so I think so our numbers are a lot higher in languages other than English, if that makes sense. Our meal status, of course, everyone's free this year, and so it has really taken a real toll on our free and reduced lunch numbers. I mean, we're talking, I think the last one Ashley sent was like 55% free reduced lunch. We're more like 80, 85%. It's again, the data. And then, EL is pretty accurate. Gifted, I think, is a little low for, what Jamie thinks. Jamie thinks we have more like 12% right now identified as gifted and talented. And then homeless, at 7% homeless, that actually includes, on the online registration, that includes families that might be doubled up due to economic hardship. But that number is actually pretty high for the state. So, and then race and ethnicity again is just how folks identify. So special ed numbers are definitely up. Won't kind of go through all of it, but and the one thing, if you ask me, I really won't be able to answer, so I apologize. I forgot to ask Mandy, who ran this query for me. There's a 00 code that has 74 kids in it, and I'm like, I've been looking at this like all night. I'm like, well, what is that? It could be multiple disabilities, but multiple disabilities is 10. It's a code 10, so I'll have to get back to you on that. So I apologize, I don't have the answer for it, but I'm like, there's nothing there, but there's 74 kids active in that category. So
I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, that was my question. It's like we're missing something.
Yeah. So I will find out and I'll let you know, because she's the one who pulled all of those numbers.
Sounds like a great opportunity for a grant to go in and clean up some of this data.
Well, it's really interesting when you just look at any sort of data source, right? So like it really, for me, I think what it tells me is a lot about educating folks when they're filling out online registration. Is you should be proud that you're bilingual or trilingual or quadrilingual, and we want to know these languages are represented, because we know that there are some languages that are spoken from families that are not represented in our demographics, which is, for me, like, it's just really important to know that. So I think I'll start pulling this periodically just to see kind of how it changes, to see new families, and I do know we're up student count, so that's good news. And we're up definitely for non-English proficient students, newcomers at the high school, for sure.
And Rena, personally, I would like to see this on a quarterly basis, because I think as we look at our test, understand sometimes the correlation between the two. And so I think it's good for us to see it, so that as we're on the streets or in the grocery store and somebody said, not that we're giving numbers, but I think it behooves us to be educated on what our data really is. And what
it's
we
important
do.
for all of us, for all of our educators to understand, like, here's our demographic data, just because it's good data.
Well, I'm glad you clarified the homeless data too, because I looked at that and I saw 7%, and I'm like, wow, because the national average is about 2. So I'm like, we're way over that.
People assume what the definition of homeless is, but when you can click off, it is definitely a lot of our families, a majority of that 7% are doubled up due to economic hardship.
Thank you. Okay, Assistant Superintendent of HR, Mr. Pasco.
Good evening. You guys have the personal action report in front of you guys. Been a little bit slower month with turnover, and especially in our classified area, we're kind of stabilizing there, which has been nice. And so, fairly short report there. If there's questions, more than happy to answer. With our current active openings, again, we've filled a lot of our positions, so we're sitting in a good spot there. No administrative openings. We have 2 certified openings right now, 4 classified openings, and then 8 others, which would be our subs and our coaching positions that are open. Again, we're sitting really good, and our principals have done a nice job of filling those positions with qualified people, and we're bringing good people in to work with our kids. In front of you guys, we have the HSA-HRA. I'm sorry. We started our contributions in September for our HSA-HRA contribution. That's directly tied to the insurance plans that our employees elect. Most of those have been submitted unless we have an employee who has changed either insurance policies or they haven't updated their account information. We'll continue on those folks. That's a small list, but continue on them through December of trying to get those allocations made through their appropriate accounts. Section 125, the flex spending account, we just sent that information out last Thursday, and started that process. We need to have that to our third-party director, which would be on the 15th of December. With the information that they sent us, you guys have in front of you tonight a IRC Section 125 resolution. Have not seen that last year, and so Rob and I kind of talked about it. I also reached out to Mr. Farrell to get some direction on it. And again, his thought was he'd never seen it before, but he wasn't opposed to it. He did do a little bit of wordage change to the document that you guys have in front of it. But essentially it aligns with policy BKB, which says that before we can withhold funds from a district employee's paycheck, it has to be approved by the Board of Education and acknowledged by the employee. So it just aligns with that, and he had no problems with approving it as written and shown tonight. Policy GBEB, which is our staff conduct policy, that's one that I kind of live a lot of my world in. Is good in a lot of natures, but there's just been some things that have popped up that I wish we had a little bit more clarity to, a little bit more teeth in the game that really outline maybe my talks and discussions with principals and employees. And so we have started kind of working on some rewording there. We're not at a point to bring it to the board for discussion and approval for 3 readings, but if you guys have concerns or questions or comments, as you kind of said, the initial changes that we've just started to peruse, you're more than welcome to throw it in my direction. I did get some direction from Mr. Farrell on this as well, and an example from another district that he thought was very quality, and so we used some of their wording and language as well to change some things. And so we will continue to work on that and bring that to you at a later date. The last thing I have is a wellness fair shot clinic. We are scheduled to do that on the 11th at Fort Morgan High School. I believe it's 4 to 6:30, something of that nature. We'll be sending out another informational flyer this week, working with Carpenter on that. There will be opportunities for flu shots with COVID. We're trying to get some blood work at the stations. CPR AED station, Stop the Bleed, New Vision, an opportunity to meet new primary care providers, mammogram scheduling and resources. We're working with College for Help on this. We're hoping to bring a second clinic in with Banner, supporting that on another flu shot night. It doesn't look like we're going to be able to make that work. So Commonwealth is trying to put a second day together for us, just for a second flu shot clinic for us. And that's what I have tonight. Any questions for me?
Thank you. Right, next we have discussion items. We have Section A policies, district revisions. This would be the second reading. Any discussion? Okay, following that, we have B policies, district revisions. These would be the first reading. Any discussion by the board? Moving on, we have consent agenda. Pleasure of the board.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Chris Brown?
Aye.
Amy Grantham?
Aye.
Nancy Hopper?
Aye.
Katie Jess? Aye. John Cody?
Aye.
Mandy Smith? Aye. Sarah Whitten? Aye.
Item 7A, we have Art of Education curriculum adoption. Pleasure of the board.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Chris Brown?
Aye.
Amy Grantham?
Aye.
Nancy Hopper?
Aye.
Katie Jess? Aye. John Cody?
Aye.
Mandy Smith? Aye. Sarah Whitten? Aye.
Action item 7B, resolution to approve section 125 flex spending account. Pleasure of the board.
Move to approve. Second.
Roll call, please.
Chris Brown? Aye. Amy Grantham? Aye. Nancy Hopper? Aye. Kitty Jess? Aye. John Cody?
Aye.
Katie Smith? Aye. Sarah Whitman? Aye.
Item 8, we have a variety of newsletters for your reading pleasure. Sherman, Columbine, Pioneer, Baker, and Green Acres. Moving on to advanced planning. A, the next Board of Education meeting will be November 18th. B, the Children's Center has an open house celebrating 35 years. That will be on November 9th. You have an invitation attached there, and you should probably receive one via the email. C, the Thanksgiving lunch is at the Fort Morgan High School on November 14th. D, fall break is November 26th through the 29th. The December Board of Education meeting is December 9th. And F, the Christmas lunch will be at Green Acres Elementary on December 17th. If there is no further business to come before the board, we will be adjourned at 8:18.